gonna be some hamstring movements. And yeah, so we're starting off with adductors. Basically try to build up that inner side of your thigh because I have small as fucking legs and small thighs. So right now at this point in my off season, the goal is to break down my leg days. So I essentially have 3 leg days, or 2.5. First one's quad focus, such as today, with a little bit of hamstring movements, but the quads are going to be separated. You're going to notice the movements that I do are all tailored to different parts of your leg. So your vastus lateralis, vastus medius, etc. And then on my hamstring days, I'm going to focus on solely hamstrings with a little bit of like 1 or 2 exercises of quads. And then my other half day of legs is going to be paired with back. More specifically, it'll just be like 2, 3, 4 hamstring movements and then 2, 3 back movements. So let's get started. Well, getting out of these machines are so fucking hard.
Oh, I know.
Holy shit.
I don't do this one enough, to be honest.
No? Honestly, I never did this, like ever, until probably like last year?
Yeah. I feel like even growing up was just like, oh, it's a girl's machine. Or like, you wouldn't
that was the stigma with it.
I feel like, and then now that I'm older, I'm like, wait, that stigma doesn't fucking make any sense.
But it's also like how we're talking about Smith machine, how Smith machine felt like it was for pussies, and then eventually, honestly, it's one of my favorite movements to do, or one of my most essential movements to do for chest and shoulders. But ever since I started implementing this, my thighs have gotten bigger, for sure.
Because you've been doing this for the past year?
A little, like, I probably started this after my Niagara competition, so end of 2021. Oh no, sorry, beginning of 2021. There's only so much like compound movements such as squats, hack squats can like pinpoint on your leg. You have to do.
Yeah, you have to do exceptions.
You have to do movements like this. And the reason why I'm starting this as my first movement is because the first one's usually like gonna set you up for the rest of the workout. Okay, hamstring curls is up next.
When you do train legs compared to like something like a shoulder movement, arm day, just given that you're training legs, like does that change anything?
I would say it's the same as any other body part, whereas I train, like my rest time is more intuitive. Like if I'm doing a compound lift, it's natural you're gonna take a longer rest. But then as we go deeper into the workout, the rest time is gonna get shorter and shorter. But because we're doing legs obviously requires more energy. So on average leg days do have slightly longer rest times, but for the most part, it goes off the same principle. You go off how you're feeling.
What about like since you talk about it being like more energy that it consumes when you train leg day, what does that mean like meal-wise? Like do you plan specifically differently or eat different before leg day?
Right now, no. I have a different diet for rest day versus a different diet for training day. But as the off season does progress, I will find like my coach, Jared, he's gonna start probably bumping up the calories a bit more on my leg days. Like you said, because you're expending more calories. But yeah, like for the most part, the biggest change in diet is gonna be your rest day and training day. My biggest thing is I usually have my cheats on my leg days because like you're burning the most calories, and not that it really is gonna make a difference, but you wanna kind of replenish your glycogen storage and fuel yourself for recovery on your lagging body parts. So like I said, like my legs are my weakest point, and then my arms. So I'll tailor a cheat around more of my legs. Not so much arms, because arms you don't really expend that much energy to work out. I definitely. What?
Do you try to be conscious of like what you're eating when you do like your cheats? Like I know Sadiq was big on that. Like when you would do cheat, like you would be cheating smart when you would do it.
It depends. If you're on prep, yes, because those cheats are not cheats. They're more so structured refeeds based on how your body, like what your body needs. Whereas in the off season, as I get deeper into the off season, as I put on a bit more fat, as my weight goes up too, I'll probably stick with foods that I like a lot, but I won't overdo it. Like one thing to note is like I rarely ever have pizza. Like the last time I had pizza was before prep, but prior to that, it's been like 2 years maybe. It's been a long time. Because pizza is not a good bodybuilding cheat. It just fucks your digestive system up for the next day or two because of all the cheese and all that fat that's associated with it. But like right now, because I'm so hungry all the time. So when I do get a cheat, I do overdo it. I stick to foods that are similar to my diet. So like sushi, there's rice, there's fish. I'm used to that. Burgers, there's beef, there's bread, fries, not really. I'll have foods like that, and my issue is overdoing those foods. And I usually pay for it after when my weight is like up like 4 or 5 pounds.
They start getting in your head, and then the fucking body dysmorphia starts to hit.
No, but in deeper into off season, I don't notice that fluctuation in weight as much. Whereas now, like where your body fat's still relatively low, you will notice like the next day you're like washed out, and like that really fucks with your head. Okay, that's it for hamstring curls. I'm gonna slide over to quad extensions.
Do you have an opinion on footwear? Like, leg day, squatting, like the pressure that it puts on your feet?
Honestly, I love training in my socks. I don't like walking around and shit in my socks because that's like a bit weird, but like when I do hack squats, really any leg movements, I prefer to do it with just my feet, my socks. But best shoes is Converse. Another really good leg day training shoes is rider wear. Those are really good. But in essence, all you need is a shoe that is flat to the ground. If you have raised like those Nikes or New Balance or even like Reeboks where they're lifted a bit, they're cushions, it's gonna displace your center of gravity slightly.
During your workout, like you try to emphasize that like as part of training, or is like just as a day as a whole?
Drinking water, like while I'm training, is more based off feedback. I don't have a set goal because let's say if you cut down like a liter while you're working out, I feel like it's gonna slow you down. You get stomach cramps, stomach discomfort, even in some cases lethargy. But usually before a workout, I'll try to down like 1 liter. Not like immediately before workout, but like with breakfast, there's that buffer of like 30 minutes to an hour. In that time, I'll have a liter. After workout, it's really important to get in your water to replace that dehydration, and even electrolytes too. Like throwing in some BCAAs or even Gatorade at some points is probably a good thing for you. For quad extensions, my biggest thing is I like to tilt my toes inwards, so it emphasizes more on my vastus lateralis, because that's also a weak part of my leg. Like my front part of my thighs are like proportionately wise are much more developed than my other parts of my quads. And that's because I started off squatting when I first started lifting, and even like doing quad extensions like this is gonna put more of an emphasis on this part of your quad. Whereas doing it this, it's gonna put more emphasis on the weaker part of my quads, which is why you'll see me indent my toes inwards. I hate training back before leg day. My lower back is always fired up, and it's always fired up the next day, and it affects almost every one of my leg movements.
And that's what I hate training. It's like I always try to at least plan smart, because if I'm gonna be hitting something the next day, I'm like, there's no way I'm hitting legs and then next day trying to deadlift.
Yeah. Like that's the way my split is organized, but it's just like I'd rather do, because tomorrow's gonna be a rest day because I trained two days on, 1 day off. So yesterday was push, today is quad dominant, tomorrow's gonna be a rest, and then based on my plan it's supposed to be back and then hamstring dominant, but I'm gonna just swap the two because I did back last week. Like I followed that sequence. My workout the next, like my hamstring day was just it was horrible. Like a lot of hamstring movements requires your lower back, like stiff leg deadlift, all that. And I just didn't feel it as much. Okay, let's get it. Let's keep going.
The last time you feel like complete failure, like with somebody where it's like throw up level.
The one workout though, I remember till this day, that was probably the hardest workout I've ever done, was with my coach over here. This was during my prep for Orlando, the amateur Olympia. I was probably 2 months out. That was the most excruciating leg day I've ever done in my life. Like I was sore. I usually get sore for 1 to 2 days tops. I was sore for a whole week. I was cramping up like crazy. I couldn't walk. I became like a handicap. But that did inspire me to train more like to that extent.
Yeah.
That's honestly how the pros train it. If you want to be a pro, you gotta adopt their principles of training. This off season to grow my calves.
Yeah.
Like, I really want them to grow.
Is that something that judges completely overlook for like whatever? Or like do they factor that in whatsoever? Like you're seeing a guy like judge and told that you need to get your calves up.
I mean, in classic physique, open bodybuilding for sure. Like, you're being assessed on your whole physique, right? Whereas men's physique, technically no, but if you got really lanky calves, but like a super like built like upper body and like in condition, all that, I mean, I don't think they're gonna care that much, but it is part of your presentation, right? Like, let's say you have the same person, exact same person, but one's calves are more developed, they're gonna win. So that comes down to you. Do you want to leave no stones unturned, or are you okay with, you know, having a lagging body part? I mean, I used to not care as much for calves, but like I need them to grow.
It looks better overall.
It does.
Balance.
But it's also a function of like I don't want any weaknesses on my physique. At the end of the day, there's always gonna be some weaknesses. I mean, that's just how you're gonna improve. But I don't, just because because I know that's a weakness, I don't want that to be an excuse for me to be like, fuck it, I'm not gonna train. Because your sleep wasn't adequate?
You didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you're distressed, like whatever reason that you know you're weak that day.
I mean, you can't be 100% 100% of the time. Most people, whenever their lifts start diminishing a little bit, or like even on the opposite hand, for some people, you'll notice one day they're super strong. That's more or less a fluke. Factors such as sleep, stress, nutrition, digestion, all these things play a part. Warm up, all these things play a part in performance. There's so many variables that go into how much you can, let's say, push on a given day. Now, my best advice is I track all this down. Like in the gym, you're seeing me track down my lifts, like the lifts I'm doing, the sets that I'm doing, and the weight that's associated with those sets. But on my check-in, so I fill this out every single day. I'll show, usually I have a sheet, where is it? Right here. So on my check-ins, this is a sheet that I fill out every single day. So I have fasted body weight, blood pressure, resting heart rate, fasted glucose, sleep duration, sleep satisfaction, mood, energy levels, stress levels, soreness, signs of flu. All these things go into account when I'm, like this is a shared doc with me and my coach. So he could see, okay, well, my weight's here, my sleep is here, I'm showing signs of flu, for example, I'm not that motivated to train. All these things we can pinpoint. It could be like, okay, well, we have the whole picture, so what can we do to adjust? So for example, if it's a function of sleep, okay, well, why am I not getting enough sleep? Is it because I'm bullshitting and staying up too late? Or is it just because I can't stay asleep? These are things that go hand in hand with performance. So what I would do to mitigate that is, well, if I can't, someone like me, I have trouble staying asleep. So I'll get something like Vicks sleep aid, which actually keeps me asleep. Or other times, like during school, when school's like really like the workload is a lot, I'll be staying up late and I'll be waking up early. That's, I mean, as a student, that's kind of necessary. I mean, you can't really, it's gonna be hard to be successful if you cut corners, like, okay, you factor in sleep, which sleep is important, but I mean, you will know if your strength is going down, that is a cause. So what can you do to minimize that? So as long as you're tracking all these variables, then you can pinpoint what's wrong and where you're lacking. And keep in mind, you want the general trends to be going up, just like your weights. Like some days, like for example, yesterday, I was down 5 pounds from the day before, randomly. Didn't do anything differently, just what it was. But then today, I'm up 2 pounds. Like it's just weird. Like your body fluctuates. That's why it's best to take the average and the overall picture.
Have you ever struggled like falling asleep, or like do you ever have issues with that?
All the time. All the time. Actually, no. Lately, no, but sometimes yes. And it used to be a bad problem in the past, but Vicks sleep aid really, really helps. Like that shit does wonders at putting you to sleep, but then keeping you asleep. Or you can hit the dab pen.
That's it. The easiest route.
That's the easiest route. Like, especially if you're running sauce, like you need to get liver care, kidney care. So many things that it adds up, bro. Like I think my whole stack of supplements alone, let's break it down. Protein powders, I'm gonna use like round off the whole numbers, but let's say $100. Liver and kidney, that comes to close to 140. So we're at 340 now. 340. Turmeric, say around 20, so 360. Omega 3s, another 40. So 400, and then I get Dilate, which is a pump enhancer. That's like, let's say 50. It's about 450 now. And then, is that it? Then I get a bunch of other supplements on Amazon. And let's just say that's another 150. You look at like close to $600 just in supplements, you know?
Because even like people like complain about the price of the gym, but it's like the price of the supplements is way beyond. $20 bi-weekly gym membership.
Yeah, and that's actually why most people probably neglect taking those extra supplements. Primarily because the cost that's associated with it. And honestly, I was one of those. I would just take my multivitamins and turmeric, call it a day. But as you get more vetted into the sport, as you start seeing your KO, shit, your body breaks down a bit more easier. And like, even your health markers, that goes a long way. That goes a long way. You wanna make sure that if you're doing this in the long run, like how we were talking about yesterday with the Smith machine, to save your joints, there's also the more, like that's the practical aspect of it, but I guess the nutritional aspect of it, you want to make sure your body's functioning as efficiently as possible, and that's also going to translate to performance.
I feel like that's something you realize as you get older too. You're like, oh, now I understand why old people like you're not young always. So like from when you're training when you're 16, like it looks so much different than when you're 28.
Absolutely, and by the way, just because you're taking all this stuff does not mean that your body's not going to break down or you're going to be perfect. You're going to be fine. But it's going to minimize the risks, especially for the long term. It's going to allow you to stay performing optimally for a much longer period of time, which is, I mean, what you want, right? I mean, well, depends what you ask, but like for me, I want to have a career even as a pro. I haven't done 4 plates in a long fucking time. Ooh. Okay. I've been lately doing a different variation of hack squats. I've been doing the upright and going down. But I'll switch it up today.
You ever do the Tom Platz, like stand like a duck?
What?
You ever do like the Tom Platz where like you stand very close?
Not that close, but similar principle, just wider stance. Just wider stance is gonna, I find for me, like I actually feel it in my lateral classic laterals. this phase of where I'm at in terms of progression, because I'm still transitioning into an off season, my emphasis is not going to be on pushing weight as much as it is building more profound connection with the movement I'm doing. So, like for example, this peak off season, I usually do much more, but right now, I think 4 is sufficient, and that's because I don't want to just go through a movement. Like I can probably tack on more weight, but I'm not gonna feel it as much because other parts of my body are gonna compensate for the movement. Whereas right now, this is adequate weight enough for me to go up and down, but control it with the actual muscle group that's intended to work out. Because like as you get deeper into the off season, you're obviously building strength, so you're able to control the weight better with the muscle group. Whereas right now, I'm not nowhere near as heavy as I need to be. So for that reason, I'm gonna be compensating with like my lower back or even like my chest, pushing it up. And by the way, that's how you get injuries. That's one of the biggest reasons why I get really bad back pains is because, well, for one, like my posture from like studying and all that, but it also goes hand in hand with how you perform in the gym. If you're compensating, you're unintentionally working a part of your body that doesn't need to be worked, or that doesn't want to be worked, and that's where you're gonna develop pain. Squat or like do any like leg movement and then your bicep or your shoulder starts cramping?
I've had it happen before where it's just like, I feel like it's just because I'm doing such a static hold on it.
Yeah.
I get that bad for barbell squats.
Yeah.
When I'm in the shoulder and I get up and then like, usually like my arm could be more sore. But that's also just due to me being lacking mobility.
But yeah, halfway through this, my shoulder starts seizing. I'm like, fuck. Don't do me like this. Sets is just keep pumping the weight. Whereas like my first top set, it was heavier weight, but I would rest very small increments in between reps. Whereas this is just because the weight is lighter, I can control it a bit better. So I want to just keep pumping it, get a nice crazy pump at the end of it, and not being able to walk. That's what we want.
Frank Zane, like, his big motto is, like, at the end of the day, he would just make sure he left the gym with a pump. Like, is there any, because he was just, at the end of the day, get blood to the muscle, and eventually it's going to grow to what that pump is.
I mean, yeah, that is true, but you have to keep in mind that your testosterone levels, or I forgot exactly what it was, but your pump, you're gonna have a pump, but it's not gonna last you the whole workout. Like, my pump usually dies off 40 minutes in. Anything after 40 minutes, does that mean it's useless, or you're not working as hard, or it's counterproductive? I would say no. But you want to establish your pump from the compounds, like the big movements that you're doing, and like even your lagging body parts. So like I said, we start off with adductors. That was important because I want that pump to be at the part where my thighs are lagging. But now I'm feeling the pump dying off a bit, like veins are going down a bit, but that's fine. We have one more movement just to exhaust the muscle a little bit more, but yes, in principle, you can definitely do that. Like, get the pump and leave. That's honestly the last 3 weeks of prep, what I would be doing. Just get a pump and literally fuck off.
Yeah.
But now we're trying to grow, so and your pumps are gonna last a lot longer than it did in prep. But again, it's also what works for you, right? Like, if you're someone who can grow off of training for 30, 45 minutes, then by all means. I'm a huge believer in quality over quantity. Someone who trains an hour and a half versus someone who trains for 45 minutes, I mean, like, if you're producing results off 45 minutes, then you're having a very quality 45 minutes. Where some people have an hour and a half and they look the same. I know people like that who've been training like that for years. Whereas, like, as years goes on, my workouts are actually becoming more condensed and they're more retrofitted with failure like working to failure, doing less movements, but really capitalizing on those movements that I'm doing. So I'd rather do 4 solid movements and get the most out of those than do 6, 7, 8 movements. I do believe less is more. And by the way, that applies for nutrition, that applies for gear, cardio, really anything in life. And by the way, when I say nutrition, I'm not saying eat less, you're gonna grow. But what I'm saying is capitalize on whole foods, capitalize on eating good quality foods over eating a fuck ton of like shitty calories. That is going to be very counterproductive. But if you can get 2,500 calories of whole foods, chicken, rice, peanut butter, oats, avocados, fish, like all this stuff, versus 3,000 calories of pizza, burgers, all these things, that you're going to see more results from the person who's eating whole foods. Same with gear as well. People, like we were talking about yesterday, people love to blast gear. Like, I know people who take ridiculous amount of exogenous hormones, and you ask them why. Like, I know a guy, like I told you, he's taking a gram of test a week. I'm like, Broski, like, why are you taking a gram of test? He's like, bro, like, I really want to get big, and like, you know, I just think like that works for me. You know, if it works for you, great, but I really don't think it's gonna be good for your organs. But like, whereas most professional competitors actually run, if I had to guess, anywhere between 200 to 400 milligrams of test a week. That's literally a fifth of what this guy's taking, and they're professional athletes. So just goes to show less is more. concludes our quad session for today. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
More confident in this. Okay? Ready? And action. That's a good pace. Good.